how we doing, Titans fans? Titan Uprising here. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Please continue to like, share, subscribe. I appreciate the support. Keep it coming. I'm going to keep these videos coming. Please comment. I comment back on everything. Today's video, I'm going to get into 4 players on the Tennessee Titans that I think can either be cut or, potentially fall down the depth chart due to various reasons. And I'll get into that. But first, hey, I'm not going to be making a video until after the 4th of July. So that's why I got the USA shirt on here. And I got the American flag hat too. It's actually a Labrador Retriever hat. I have a black lab. He's about 4 years old. So if you guys are dog lovers, that's awesome. I am. So he's my first kid basically. But that aside, let's dive right into this. The first player I'm going to bring up here is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. So, I don't see him. Depends on Hopkins. Let's put it that way. Okay, a lot of it depends on DeAndre Hopkins. If he does come, I think this is even more of a chance that he falls down the depth chart, or he signed a 1-year deal, so I don't think he will be cut. I do see him slipping down the depth chart though, and I'll break down some stats for you guys here. Now he was targeted 50 times, and he caught 25 of those targets for 397 yards and 3 touchdowns. His long was 63 yards, and 18 of those 25 catches were for first downs, which is awesome, but this goes to show he's a possession receiver. He's not a burner. He's not someone you have to be really worried about catching a slant and taking it to the house. He's the guy that's going to go try and find a crease in the zone coverage and catch the ball for the first down. And his big game was against Denver, where he caught 5 of 8 targets for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was targeted 1 time in the season finale. Now, I know it was Dobbs back there, right? He had no chemistry. Obviously, our offense was better with Tannehill, right? And we were somewhat healthier when Tannehill was playing, because our team really took way more injuries towards the back half of the season as well. If you want to argue those points, very valid. But over the final 4 games, also, he had 9 targets for 3 catches and 27 yards. Over the final 4 games, that's just, and with Burks being out, it just goes to show he couldn't carry anything. And then with Woods too, it made NWI be our wide receiver 2, which he's just not capable. And I've said numerous times on numerous videos that he cannot be anything. He can't be a wide receiver 2 or 3 for us. There's no way he can do that. We can't have that. If he is, we are screwed. I stand by that. Everybody probably thinks I'm an NWI hater. I'm not. I just don't think he's an NFL wide receiver personally. I think if he were to not be on the Tennessee Titans, I don't see him being on any other team. He's more of a practice squad guy, or a guy that you don't want to see the field, but if you have to call him up, he can be on there. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of him. Hopefully he makes me eat my words later on this year. I'd love to. I hope he goes off this year. I really do, with a new scheme. But I'll pull up the depth chart for you guys here. And this is one of the reasons why I think he has potential to fall down the depth chart. And we have Treylon Burks. Obviously, they have NWI slotted there. Kyle Phillips would be our slot wide receiver. And then you have Racey McMath, Colton Dowell, Chris Moore. And then we'll get into the third stringers here. And you have Jacob Copeland, Reggie Roberson, and Mason Kinsey. Now, obviously, like I said, if Hopkins gets signed to the Tennessee Titans, this depth chart is going to obviously have another person in the front end of it, so that would push everybody down. Now, if we did sign Hopkins, I could see it being Hopkins, Burks, and Phillips, right, are 3, obviously. Now, even if we don't sign Hopkins, I could see Racey McMath or Colton Dowell. I'm a big Colton Dowell fan, or Chris Moore, supplanting NWI. And it might not be in the beginning of the season. It might be later on, once those guys, get some traction under them, especially with a rookie like Colton Dowell. Racey McMath has got the size and speed if he ever puts it together and stays healthy. That's a guy that I could see passing NWI. And then there's Chris Moore, who had his best season last year with the Houston Texans. And he's going to be in a better wide receiver friendly scheme. Now, the wide receiver friendly scheme, which is also a quarterback friendly scheme, which is obviously goes hand in hand. They simplified the play calling. Everybody know from what I've seen and read, they simplified the play calling. It's not a very long play to call. Everybody knows just by 1 word or 2 words what they're going to do. It's very, like I said, quarterback and wide receiver friendly, and just friendly to the entire offense. So maybe someone like NWI does end up taking off with that, right, and does really well. I just don't see it happening. He's not a guy that's going to burn you. And obviously, he showed last year that he can't get open. You can't have 3 catches for 27 yards over the final 4 games. Obviously, Todd Downing, that was flawed because of that, and just because the offense was in shambles. But still, unacceptable. Guys have to get open, and he did not. Now, I'll get into our second guy here, and this is our second of the 3 players that are on offense. I only have 1 on defense here. The second guy here is NPF. And, you know, obviously this is partly because of the 6-game suspension that he has this year. And, you know, there's a chance that somebody can supplant him. 6 games out, 6 games of not playing, right? Somebody else starts doing good. You're not going to throw NPF in there. Why would you? If the offensive line is clicking and gelling, why screw up a good thing? So the 6 games is not good for the offense, really. It's not good for him either, specifically. But, you know, he had a PFF grade last season of 52.3, which is not good. And he had 8 penalties, which was tied for 21st. And he had 5 sacks allowed, which was tied for 25th. He also had the 4th worst overall PFF grade on offense. The only players who were worse were Dillon Radunz, Dennis Daly, and Malik Willis. That's not exactly good company, guys. That's not the company that you want to be with on offense. Now, Malik Willis, I think he'll do better because he was a rookie last year, was not supposed to see the field. But Dillon Radunz and Dennis Daly, I mean, geez, Dennis Daly, the swinging door. You do not want to be associated with him at all. Those are our bottom 4 guys on offense, though. Now, I'll pull up the depth chart again here, and you can obviously see it's got Andre Dillard, Daniel Brunskill, Aaron Brewer, Jordan Ruse, and Peter Skoronski. This is an updated depth chart. It has Skoronski at right tackle. I like how they keep changing this. And if you guys don't know, I use ourlads.com for the depth chart. It's constantly being updated. And this one does not even have NPF on it, as he is going to be serving a 6-game suspension. Hopefully he wins that appeal. But obviously you can see if those are our starting 5, why not? I mean, NPF he was a rookie last year on a bad offense, on a not good offensive line, with horrible play calling. So, I mean, he was already behind the 8 ball on that, but, you know, if that was the line that we have going out there week 1, and, you know, week 2, week 3, week 4, 5, 6 goes on, and we're winning some games, or we're 500 and the offensive line's okay, and Henry's got 700 rushing yards, and, you know, like I said, we're maybe 50-50, playing 50-50 ball, 3-3. Why mess up a good thing? This is how guys lose their job and fall down the depth chart. And we're not super committed to anybody. This isn't a pick of Ran Carthon either. This is a John Robinson pick. And, you know, I don't see him... you know, it's not going good for him, guys. It's really not. Obviously, I don't want him to be suspended. I hope he wins that appeal. I don't see it happening, though. I think they're trying to make an example out of these guys with the betting in the NFL, and I can't blame them for that because I talked about it in the last video. You lose the integrity of the game. Cannot blame them for that. We'll get into the last offensive player here, and that is Hassan Haskins. Kind of goes hand in hand with NPF because he's also potentially serving a suspension. There's a chance he even gets cut, outright cut. You know, because he has the July 10th date here for strangling his girlfriend, and yes, that's accurate. That's I kind of went into that in my last video. If you guys want to watch that one, about how the whole fight that broke down between him and his girlfriend, how she choked him out with a broom and he choked her, and she threw his PlayStation 5 and blah blah blah, and he left her at dinner. And man, obviously that's a toxic relationship. He's got to get out of that. But stats talking wise, he had 25 carries for 93 yards for an average of 3.7. Anytime you're averaging under 4 yards a carry, it's not good. He caught 11 passes for 57 yards for an average of 5.2 yards per catch. So he didn't produce much on the ground, and he's not a threat catching the ball in the backfield at 5.2 yards per catch. I think he hit a long at 10, so that even is one catch that went for somewhat decent yardage, 10 yards, right? That kind of skewered that. So it'd actually be 10 catches for 47, which is even worse. That's a 4.7 right there. So not good. He's also, like I said, facing that suspension possibly, which I don't. We'll wait to see what happens after July 10th, whether we just outright cut him. We'll see. But he's also behind future Hall of Fame running back Derrick Henry, the King, and we also drafted Tyjae Spears. So those are already working against him. Like I said, he could be outright cut. And he also did not produce in the kicking game, or I should say the return game last year. He had 19 runbacks for 414 yards. Now, he was good on special teams coverage for us last year. You cannot deny that. He had 13 total tackles, 9 of them were solo, and 4 were assists. Can't deny his ability to go tackle the kick return guy down the field. He did really well on that, but I also feel like you could find somebody that plays the defensive side of the ball that's even better at it in those positions. So he is currently RB3 for us. And, Julius Chestnut can end up being the RB3, or we find an undrafted guy, maybe someone that's a depth piece on our team, undrafted guy. But, it's going to be Derrick Henry and Tyjae Spears as the 1 and 2. And like I said, Hassan Haskins, and I've been saying this for a while, I think the writing's on the wall for him. I don't think he did very well last year, and I don't think he's going to have a chance to prove it this year. And there's a chance he gets cut now. Just not going good for him, guys. Now we'll get into our last guy, and this is the only defensive player that I have on the list, and you guys are going to know the name, and he's going to frustrate you. That's Caleb Farley, guys. Man, I got a lot on this guy because he's a disappointment, and sucks. So he's the only defensive player on this list. He had a PFF grade of 42.5, which, by the way, was the worst overall on the defense. The worst PFF grade on our entire defense was Caleb Farley. It was the second worst on the team overall. Yeah, he was not good, guys. The only player worse was Dillon Radunz. Funny thing, Dillon Radunz and Caleb Farley came from the same draft class. Thank you, J-Rob. Those are first and second round picks. You nailed that draft, buddy. Man, you really screwed that one up. So this past season, Farley was placed on injured reserve in November because of a back injury, which also required surgery. If you guys remember, he had back issues in college, and that's why he fell down the draft board, and we took him. J-Rob thought he could hit on Farley like he hit on Simmons. Well, doesn't happen all the time, and you gambled too much and you lost. Yeah, he has the size, the speed, the athleticism, but we'll get into this a little bit here on his snaps and coverages and all that, but that proved that he did not do that good. We just took a gamble on this guy. I don't think he's going to pan out. There's a chance that he's outright cut, and I'll get into the depth chart in a little bit on that as well. Not good for Caleb Farley, and that sucks. It's a first-round pick. I do believe, though, if he gets cut from our team, which I don't think he'd be cut this year, I think it might be next year, because you guys got to remember, like I said earlier, this is not a Ran Carthon pick. He is not tied to this guy. J-Rob picked him. Ran Carthon can go in, cut a first or second round pick, and it's not going to be anything huge. Not like if J-Rob did it, because it was a pick of his, and he's admitting that he screwed up. So I really could see him falling down the depth chart. I guess I don't think he'd be cut this year unless the team's really had it with him. But he's a potential cut candidate next year, and he could fall down the depth chart this year, like I said. Now, like I said, this past season, he was put on injured reserve in November because of the back injury. He played in just 6 games, and he didn't get much playing time in those 6 games either. He totaled 103 snaps in the 6 games, guys. It's not good. Now, reason being is he didn't do well in week 2. And week 2, which was against the Buffalo Bills, he had 49 snaps week 2. So 49 out of the 103 he got were against the Buffalo Bills in week 2. So, hey, almost half of his snaps were against the Bills. And, by the way, he only played in the first half. He didn't even play in the second half of that game. And the reason he didn't is because against the Bills, he allowed 5 receptions on 6 passes thrown his way for a total of 68 yards and a touchdown, and we pulled him out of the game. Never saw the field, never saw a single snap in the second half. Now, the next week, week 3, guess how many snaps? 1. And that was because Christian Fulton got hurt. Now, Guys, that's not good. That tells me everything I need to know. That he's a first round pick, first off, right? So a lot of times teams will just throw him out there. He's a first round pick. Our secondary wasn't exactly the greatest last year. So we just took him out. We saw enough of him in the first half. Vrabel said, take the guy out, he's gone. Saw one snap the next game. And then in November, back injury, injury reserve, surgery. Now, in 2021, he only played in 3 games before he tore his ACL. Obviously, very, very, very injury prone. He had injuries in college with the back. He had the ACL tear his rookie year, and then he had the back injury again this past season. It's not looking good for Caleb Farley, guys. It's really not. Now, I'll go over the depth chart here for you. Well, now, obviously, we're looking strictly at corner. Now, we have Kristian Fulton, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Roger McCreary as our, starting 3, because a lot of times people are starting nickelback. Let's just be honest, a nickelback or a slot corner, however you want to say that, is a starting position in the NFL nowadays. A lot of times teams have 3 corners on the field, and McCreary, is looks like he's slated to take that nickelback roll over. And now I'll get into the backups here. It has Caleb Farley as the backup. Who knows when he's fully healthy as well. Now we have Trey Avery, who did do well last year in spots. And then we have Elijah Molden, who is getting safety look a little bit. So he's going to be maybe a little bit hybrid there for us. Then we have some undrafted guys here in Stephen Jones Jr., Caleb Murphy, Chris Jackson, who, we saw some Chris Jackson over the past couple seasons. And then Shaheem Carter. Now I can see Kristian Fulton, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Roger McCreary obviously being the 3 that they have here. And then Trey Avery and Elijah Molden being our 5 top corners. And then you have Caleb Farley being 6. That's not where you want your first round pick, or previous first round pick to be, as your 6th cornerback. And obviously Elijah Molden's going to see the field more. He's got a little bit of safety, a little bit of corner in him. Could be also a little slot nickel corner. And then same thing with McCreary, slot nickel guy. And then we have, Sean Murphy-Bunting on the outside and Kristian Fulton on the outside. And I think Kristian Fulton takes a big leap this year and stays healthy. He's, attested that he's going to stay healthy for all 17 games. Let's hope it's more than 17, because that means we've made the playoffs. That's how a guy falls down the depth chart. Very similar to the MPF. He had surgery last year, so let's just say he's not fully healthy, not seeing the field. Other guys start playing better. That's how it happens. That is very much how it happens. That's my only guy in the defense that I think is either going to be right down the bottom of the depth chart and then potential cut candidate. I don't see him on the team next year unless and I want to eat my words on this, Caleb Farley, prove me wrong. I want these guys to do good. From what I've seen, he's not showing me anything, and I'm sure you guys have seen that as well. It sucks to watch. I don't want to see it. I want to see this guy do well because it helps out the team. He really needs to take that step this year. And hopefully he does. It's not, the writing on the wall, I think, is there for Caleb Farley, especially when I said earlier, he seemed to have lost the coach's faith last year when he saw 1 snap week 3. And he was upset about it too. He was vocal. He said that he was not happy. Well, if you're not happy with it, play better. Right? If you're not happy with it, prove them wrong. Prove me wrong. Go out there, do better. Now, those are my 4 guys. If you guys can think of anybody else, let me know. I did the 4 guys because, it's July 4th. Well, it's not July 4th now, but I'm doing this video ahead of July 4th, so I won't be making a video until after. And I wanted to do my 4 potential cut / candidates that could fall down the depth chart. Let me know if you guys have anybody different and what you think about those guys in general. And we'll talk soon, everybody. Tighten up.